which means that there's 66 ways to have major depressive disorder. If you have problems with guilt and insomnia and sadness, and you have problems concentrating and hypersomnia and sadness, they have the same illness. But do you think the same circuits are abnormal in both of those people? They both have sadness, so that one's the same, but she's got problems concentrating, he doesn't. So his concentration circuit's probably okay. And so, although I can give them both an SSRI doesn't matter. If they both get well, that's fine, get out of my office next, you're not difficult. But when they both come back and her concentration problem continues, and maybe he's got some painful symptoms that continue, and their sadness is gone, then what do you do? And that's really where the skillful psychopharmacologist comes in. Because you then think about the matching the most common residual symptoms to the hypothetically malfunctioning brain circuit. So the first thing you do is you find the residual symptom. In other words, it's not important to ask you what's wrong with you on the first visit. It's more important to ask you what's wrong on the second month because you're not in remission yet. You say, are all your symptoms gone? Fine. Okay, you're done. Easy. But no, I still have problems. Concentrating, insomnia, with a high index of suspicion. Then you say, whatever you have, let's match it. So where does physical fatigue go? The striatum. Where are problems with motivation, energy, and interest? In the nucleus accumbens. Where is problems concentrating? In the prefrontal cortex, where you need dopamine. How do you increase dopamine in the prefrontal cortex? With a norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. Problems with mental fatigue. Problems with insomnia. Problems with physical fatigue in your spinal cord. Whatever it is, you match the symptom to where you think in the circuit it is abnormal. Then part 3 is you ask, what are the neurotransmitters, neurotransmitters, that target those symptoms? Well, in the case of fatigue, it's norepinephrine and dopamine. So for treating fatigue or pain or energy problems or body problems or whatever, you would give an SNRI or you might try some other things. For concentration, these are also problems with norepinephrine and dopamine. But with sleep, you might give a hypnotic. You might not use norepinephrine or dopamine. Give trazodone. Give esopiclone. Are you going to give an activate? Like, would you add bupropion to someone who has problems sleeping? Maybe it's problems concentrating, but problems sleeping? And so it makes no sense. So if you have problems with pain, you switch them to an SNRI, or you raise the dose of the SNRI. It's not that difficult. There's actually rational. Or are you going to take somebody who's tired and give them trazodone? The evidence says it doesn't matter. If you're tired and you have problems concentrating, I can both give you trazodone, or I can both give you bupropion, or both give you an SNRI. Outcomes are all the same. That's what the evidence shows. But the evidence is not practicing one patient at a time. There's a difference between seeing individual patients with individual symptoms and tailoring it. I don't know. You don't have in this country Nordstrom's, do you? A retailer. What's the name of a high-end retailer? In other words, what you want? Do you know the word bespoke from the British? A bespoke suit. Bespoke suit is custom tailored. You are a tailor, not a doctor. You come in and say, 38, a little more on the shoulders, a little off the waist here. We need to have a little serotonin here, a little dopamine there. You're different. We need to have too much serotonin, so let's give you norepinephrine. Get a little GABA over here. Oh, I was just fine. That's how you practice psychopharmacology. You put these together by the specific patient and tailor it. Because that's the art. This is what's so fun, I think, about being a psychiatrist today. It's the best specialty to combine art with science. We are very good listeners. We are skilled at that. We're probably better than any other specialty at that. maybe some of our science, some of it is weaker than some of the other specialties. This is true. But science matters. Science can make outcomes different. And I think if you know how the brain works, you know how the drugs work, the circuits, the neurotransmitters, you become neurobiologically empowered. And then, that's the science. You combine that with good listening skills and a feel for things, and intuition, like a cook. You know, and the best people do both. There's still an art to this. And so I'm trying to give you the science to combine with the art because the individual patient wants a different bespoke or tailored treatment depending on what's wrong with you. Not I look it up in some book and I give you treatment 1 blind, everybody gets number 1, and then everybody gets number 2, and then everybody gets number 3, and I don't listen to you, I give everybody. And I used to say in the United States I had 3 drawers. And the first drawer was Prozac because it came to the market first. And the second drawer was Zoloft because it came third. And the third drawer was Paxil because it came third. Zoloft was second. So the patients came in, I had everything filled out in advance. Because if they hadn't been treated before, I gave everybody Prozac. Didn't work, then I go to the second drawer and give everybody sertraline. That's called chronological prescribing. You do the same thing in schizophrenia. Risperidol's first, and then the second one was olanzapine, and then the third one was Seroquel. Should we do it in the order they came to the market? Should we do it out of some algorithm written by people in some city that aren't seeing that patient right now? The best person to make that decision is you, not me. Who am I telling you how to practice on Wednesday with your patient? You need to make that decision. Nobody should tell you how to do that. And the way you put it together is with this, somewhat rational. Because then I think what you do, part of the art is that you exude confidence. You think you know what you're doing, you're directive, you're confident, your charisma comes across, and this is all the art, which is combining the best of the art and the best of science. And you go even further. You treat all 13 of the 9 symptoms. You're not done when all 9 DSM symptoms are better. If you've got vasomotor symptoms, you treat those. If you've got sexual dysfunction, you treat that. If you have sleepiness, pain, anxiety, you treat that. None of these are DSM symptoms of depression. But any good doctor is going to relieve all suffering. So you go and you ask them where these symptoms are. Pain is in the thalamus. Sleepiness is also in the thalamus. Problems with sexual drive is in the nucleus accumbens. Sleepiness can also be cortical. The basal forebrain, BF, is involved with sleepiness and alertness. Anxiety and pain is in the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. Vasomotor symptoms are probably in the hypothalamus. Pain and sexual dysfunction can also be in the spinal cord. Then you do the same thing. You can see these in your handout. But the reason I'm putting this, also it's very interesting, there's very good evidence that SNRIs work very well for vasomotor symptoms. The one that's studying these the best right now is Pristique in the United States, but some of these companies study some more than others, but SNRIs work very well for vasomotor symptoms, hot flushes. Women don't want to take estrogen anymore. Women who have hot flushes, and you don't treat them, they'll get another episode of depression. You have to treat them. And SSRIs don't work for this. SNRIs do. Norepinephrine is necessary. Sexual dysfunction, well, maybe you have to switch people off of a serotonin drug to a trazodone or add something. Sleepiness, pain, SNRI. This is our lecture today. But these principles, you can see, apply very broadly. I could give you a lecture on many other things. It would take longer. I don't want to waste your time on this. But the point is, tailor your treatments, know your circuits, know your pharmacology, and give the treatment that makes the most sense, and keep doing it till you get somebody well. In conclusion, pain can be an integral part of depression. It may be manifested as heaviness, aches, fatigue, low energy. You use your word. But you have to solicit this from patients. They won't tell you this unless you use their language to describe what's going on. You just need to say the descending norepinephrine pathway syndrome. Whatever that is. If you're descending, you need to make sure when you're asking, hey, is your amygdala working right? What you do, you say, are you anxious? Hey, is your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex working right? You say, do you have problems concentrating? Hey, is your ventral medial prefrontal cortex working right? The language you use is, do you have sadness and guilt? But you can also say, are your descending spinal cord pathways working right? And the way you do that, you say, tell me about your body. Are you feeling heavy, pain, ache, fatigue? You use the language you want. This is why you have to add this one more thing to your survey list. I told you, you need to be very sure about sleep, very sure about pain in patients, because that's what's necessary for remission. And pain, or the word that you use, from the screwed up pathways in your spinal cord, you need to look for that. Painful physical symptoms associated with depression are better treated with an SNRI than SSRIs. There's many confirmations of this. Early and aggressive treatment will work better because you get recurrences, you get relapses, you get a mess up with circuits are all damaged and brains are damaged. If you wait to the end, it isn't going to work. Patients who come in with years of these symptoms, you need to be a little less hopeful. People who just develop them, you can be very hopeful. Depression can effectively be addressed from a symptom point, one at a time. We are very good at taking inventories of symptoms. We're very good at checking them over the time of treatment. We're very good at seeing them come back, the first sign of relapse.